Hello everybody and welcome into OP Racing's Wednesday night ButtKicker Grand National Series, kicking off the playoffs here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Qualifying is complete. Drivers are getting gridded up, getting ready to get this thing going. So before we get any further, let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. Again, tonight kicks off the start of the playoffs, which means the start of the round of 16, where a lot of drivers are looking to see if they can continue their chances at a championship this season, and 4 are going to be sent home. All right, taking the pole here tonight is going to be Vicente Guerrero, puts down a 54.965. It'll be Rick Sanchez, another one of the playoff drivers that will start to his outside in second. Matt Wagner back in third with Adam Kilday in fourth. Then it's Kenny Reel in the 753 machine back in fifth. Anthony English will roll off sixth here tonight. Back in row 4, it's going to be Dustin Logston with Eric Laurie to his outside in eighth. Jimmy Reynolds in ninth, and Les Levy rounding out your top 10. Moving on back to row number 6, it's going to be Zach Fritz. And to his outside, as we got a little bit too far, is Jeff Crosby Jr. Back in 13th, it's going to be the Canadian driver John Guerra in the 59. Dave Hunt back in 14th. David Booth 15th with David Overstreet back in 16th. Douglas Johnson, Nathan Warren making up row 9. And it's Gary Bergeron and Dana Shepard rounding out your top 20. Sean Dion starts 21st. Stephen Lane in 22nd. Derek Donna back in 23rd with Jeff Crosby Sr. in 24th. Moving on back to that 25th spot, it's going to be Gene Watkinson with Shane Ward to his outside in 26th. Bubba Winningham in the 66 will start 27th. And rounding out the field here tonight is Len McNeese. He will start in 28th. Taking a look at your race info here tonight, it's the HRRacing 185 from Talladega Superspeedway, 2.65 miles in length. Is a lap around Talladega Superspeedway with over 30 degrees of banking in the corners, and the long straightaways allow for a lot of pushing and shoving, and we will see plenty of that here tonight. Weather outside, pretty nice day in the sim as we're sitting at, looks like about 66 degrees, 81% humidity, partly cloudy skies. Winds at 4 miles an hour. Now here tonight it is going to be 70 laps, 45% fuel. Drivers do have unlimited tires with 1 fast repair available if you need it. Fixed setups as always, and there will be a stage break on lap 35 and 2 green-white checkers if we were to need them. And by the way, you see that starting track temp there, 79 degrees. And with this, kind of being in the trucks here tonight, I don't think grip's going to be too much of an issue, but these trucks, man, they can absolutely scoot around here. We've seen the speed before. This season, drivers have already had a chance to come to this track with this combo a couple times, and now they'll get a chance to do it again here tonight as the pace car is now working its way off of turn 4. And so we will get ready to get this race going. Again, field going to be in the hands here of Vicente Guerrero and Rick Sanchez, 2 of the playoff drivers, to get things kicked off. By the way, you notice on the scoring tower, you'll probably also notice on some of the banners over the coming weeks, the drivers that are currently in the round of 16 in the playoffs are highlighted in purple. All right, here we go as the pace truck makes the left turn. Field now double files up, gets bumper to bumper. Into the Geico restart zone will go. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Talladega. And lap 1 is complete as they come roaring across the line. Now up to full pace. Vicente Guerrero leads the way on the inside of the racetrack. You've got Richard Sanchez up top. He's getting pushed by the 85 of Adam Kilday. But on the bottom, it's the 11 of Matt Wagner who's able to get that 14 clear. Vicente Guerrero going to jump back up to the top of the racetrack where he will maintain control of this pack. And right now, everybody's going to try to get a feel for what these trucks can do. You can already see 3 wide starting to develop just a little bit further back. I believe that's Dave Hunt trying to get something going in that number 53 truck. And indeed it is the 53, trying to see if he can push Les Levy all the way up to the front of the field. And I think they're probably going to need a little bit more help as it stands. Now, only 2 of 70 complete. So, again, most drivers probably not going to get that aggressive yet. But don't forget that we have that stage break on lap 35. So that's kind of an extra opportunity for really anybody in this field to get themselves track position. But more importantly, for the playoff drivers to help get themselves some extra points and try to secure your spot into the next round here in just 3 races from now. How about the 753 truck of Kenny Reel? He'll now push the 11 of Matt Wagner clear. The 11 jumps up, and that'll now give Kenny Reel a chance to cool down on the bottom of the racetrack. Pack still in very tight formation as they rocket down the Alabama gang back straightaway. And I think the thing that we're seeing, or we're going to see, I guess I should say later, but even right now, is the trucks, the packs are a little bit tighter here. You can do a lot more pushing and shoving than you can in the recently updated Xfinity cars. We got to be really delicate and careful with the way you push the guy in front of you. These trucks are a little bit more brute, if you will. Get up there, shove the guy, whether it's on the straightaway or through the corner. As long as you're squared up, they tend to take the pushing pretty well. So we hop on board here early. We'll go all the way back to the 85 of Adam Kilday, one of the playoff drivers who currently sits on the outside line. He is in the 7th spot, but he'll fall back to 8th here as they work through 1 and 2. And the big thing with these trucks, I guess the more recent update, if you will, that occurred over the course of this season is the update that these trucks had that makes them so much faster than they once were. I mean, you can see it there on the dashboard speed for Adam Kilday, topping out at almost 200 miles an hour there, top speed going down the back straightaway. And so you got to be careful because when you get sideways in these, we've seen the wrecks now with the new blowover physics. Things get a lot more hectic, a lot quicker, a lot crazier. The wrecks are a lot more brutal, a lot bigger, if you will. And that certainly makes drivers have to think twice. But you got that fast repair, and you know that you're probably going to have to use it. So track position is king. Try to get it as Les Levy now looking to the front here as he is 3 wide on the outside. Getting pushed now by the 16. And how far can they go? The 16 of Nathan Warren, that's another one of the playoff drivers. You notice some of them, I saw a few guys that have already got the purple banners on and set up, not all of them. But ooh, big wiggle right there from the 11. Matt Wagner in the middle had a huge moment as that truck almost got down into the 12 of Zach Fritsch. Boy, that would not have ended well. And now they're still 3 wide. Ooh, man, the 753 drifting up. Now there is some contact. The inside and the middle lane get together, I think. Oh, there they go. Big one as the 16's going to get into the wall. Now they wreck out back even more. 2, 3, 4. How many trucks get involved in this one? Looks like it's going to be 2 that officially come to a halt. One's Dana Shepard, and the other one, I believe, might have been Sean Dion. Yes, it is in the 768. With just 6 laps complete, trouble strikes for the first time here tonight. Let's go back and break down exactly where things all went wrong here. We'll start with the chopper view. As, I mean, they were getting really, really dicey up here for how many laps we still have left. You almost could kind of sense this one coming to a degree. And watch here. I think it happens in front of Dana Shepard, actually. I think these two are more just kind of innocent bystanders. As, yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it all starts with, again, the 16 getting turned into the pack. I guess I should say getting turned up into the wall from the pack. Back this up again. That's Nathan Warren. Watch here is they're 3 wide, and is it just going to be a bit of a push gone wrong? So they're working through 3 and 4. Watch, it's going to be just slight contact here. The 16's up in the 3rd lane, and as we slow it down, no, it starts on the bottom, actually. That's Zach Fritz in the 12 truck, and does he just get a little bit up the track? Yeah, he does. He just starts to get up the racetrack, and as tight as they're running, I think they get caught by just a little bit of net code, and then once they get stuck together, that takes the 11 truck up into the 16. Nothing Nathan can do at this point as he backs that truck into the safer barrier, and then he's going to get tagged here. As at this point, it's just everybody, kind of every man for themselves. Everybody's trying to miss it. But that was the 46 of David Overstreet who had the initial contact. Then further back, you see even more contact for the 43 of Dana Shepard, who went all the way around. Looks like Len McNeese had a jam on the brakes to try to check up for this wreck as well. And certainly not nearly as bad as this one could have been. I mean, when you see a wreck like this where it starts in the middle of the field, it usually collects everybody. But yeah, just really tight quarters racing there. Fritz maybe drifts up just a little bit and then caught by just a brief amount of netcode there between him and the 11. They both survived, so Wagner and Fritz are okay. But again, for the 46 of David Overstreet, the 16 of Nathan Warren, not so much. There's some contact out back as well for a few of the other playoff drivers involved in this wreck, including the 15 of Jeff Crosby Sr., and then there you see the 1 going spinning down the racetrack as he's trying to save it. So, first caution of the night Again, only is going to collect about 2 or 3 to a degree of having to go in and fix any significant damage, as I do believe everybody else got away okay, or at least to the point where they can just fix optional. Again, you only have that one fast repair, so if you don't feel like the damage is something that's really going to affect the way that, you know, your truck's speed is overall, I guess, or the way that the truck's going to race, then no point in taking it. That way, if you get involved in a wreck later that does some more damage, you still have that fast repair in your back pocket just in case you need it. All right, let's go to a couple different views here that I do want to look at here. One more zoomed-in view to show you exactly. Just watch the 12 here. He's on the bottom, and he doesn't drift up much, and he doesn't have to because when you're running this close, you've only got a few feet between trucks either way, and then right there, they kind of get stuck together, and once the 16 gets turned here, David Overstreet tried to shoot the top, but just really kind of had nowhere to go, and then for Dana Shepard back here, he gets turned around as he gets into the 768 of Sean Dion, who also got spun around. And that's what's going to wrap up our first caution here tonight. Back up front we go. Les Levy leading the way here. He's already up 9 positions from where he started this race at. Kenny Reels in second. Jimmy Reynolds up to third. He's up 6 spots from where he started this race at. And it's Vicente Guerrero, the pole sitter, who currently now sits back in fourth. Eric Laurie rounding out your top 5. John Guerra in 6th with Rick Sanchez in 7th. Adam Kilday in 8th. Jeff Crosby Sr. in 9th. Jeff Crosby Jr. rounding out your top 10. Looks like a couple going to peel off to the pits here. That was Rick Sanchez and Eric Laurie. By the way, one of the things I do want to mention here in the Grand National Series, the ButtKicker Grand National Series on Wednesdays, is that there are no official teams. So guys have the option to work together, and you know, you see a lot of them in different discords working with each other, but there are no official teams. So at the end of this race, things are going to kind of become an every man for themselves type of situation versus maybe the team-on-team battles that we see in some of the other series. So looking forward to see how that pans out. And then the other thing I do want to mention is first time covering these guys here tonight, so if there's any names that I slightly mispronounce or get incorrect, please let me know, as we will try our best to get it corrected by this time next week, where we will see the OP Racing ButtKicker Grand National Series return. But what's cool about this series is it's a different track and car combo pretty much every week. There's nothing the same. If, you know, you get to run the same combo every once in a while, but it's not you'll run the trucks at Talladega next week. No, that's not the way the schedule's set up here. In fact, next week, I think we're heading to Legacy Daytona. We'll double check on that later on in the broadcast once things start to get kind of single filed out, maybe a little bit more calm. But when we go back green here, it'll be 9 laps complete. And we still have a decent ways to go here before we get to the end of the stage break. So a lot of drivers still going to be looking to take advantage, try to gain some track position and maybe grab some stage points here. Just about 25 to 27 laps time. John Guerra, he's already up 5 positions, or he's up to 5th, up 8 positions from where he started this race at. That's the driver out of Burlington. He's got himself a good run going so far, as it stands, currently the only Toyota up here in the top 5 and a group of Chevys. By the way, if you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. Hope that you're having a good Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, as we watch these guys go at it here in the first round of the playoffs. And I was looking to see the 2 trucks that got the worst of that one, of course, being what initially looked like the 16 of Nathan Warren, and then also Dana Shepard and the 43. Looks like they have caught back up. Those trucks look to be cleaned up. So, oh, and the 16, yeah, you can see a little bit of scuff there still on the left side. So he chose to not use that fast spare yet. Think it was a smart choice. We'll see how it pans out. All right, back up front. Here we go. Rolling back into the Geico restart zone. 9 of 70 laps complete in the HRRacing 185. Green flag is back in the air. We're back underway at Talladega. And it's a good restart for the outside lane. Looks like Vicente Guerrero's quickly able to push the 753 of Kenny Real clear. He'll jump to the bottom. And now Les Levy's trying to see if he can get enough momentum, if you will, to push the 753 all the way clear so that he can jump up to make a move for himself. 2x2 down the Alabama gang back straightaway truck, still trying to get up to full speed. Takes about a lap, maybe not quite, maybe about 3/4 of a lap before they're up to full pace. As they climb the banking into turn 3, nobody trying to take it 3 wide just yet. In fact, a little bit of a separation between these 2 packs. The second one right now is being led by Gene Watkinson in the 111 truck, as Bubba Winningham currently rounds out this lead pack. And so I think they're still close enough to keep the draft. Yeah, they are. They're just under a second back, so they're not in danger of losing that pack, at least not yet, but they need to try to get organized here and catch back up before that potentially becomes an issue. On the outside, by the way, you see a couple drivers trying to go to the front of this group, maybe feel like they can do a little bit of a better job leading. And right now, catching your eye is the yellow and orange Harley-Davidson scheme for Gary Bergeron, who currently runs in that 14th spot. And again, I know I'm saying Gary. If it's for some reason Jerry, then I do apologize. Let me know. Gene Watkinson, who sits back in 15th in the Napa Auto Parts 111 truck. There's the 44 of Anthony English, one of the playoff drivers, and man, one of the all-time best in the OP Racing, not just this series, but pretty much all three series. Make it 4, as a matter of fact, as Douglas Johnson, he's up to 17th. Dustin Logston is in 18th. Then you've got Dana Shepard 19th with David Booth, currently rounding out your top 20. And then a bit of a third pack now getting formed up, which is a 3-car trio consisting of Len McNeese, Matt Wagner, Rick Sanchez. And Sanchez, again, one of the playoff drivers that started this race near the front, now currently runs towards the back. He's got some work to do. And fuel strategy could be another thing that gets really interesting as you see him dicing around up front. A lot of fishtailing going on, but Vicente Guerrero with a push off the front bumper of Adam Kilday got clear, and he was able to jump back down to the inside. But looking at fuel mileage, 45% in these trucks, somewhere probably between 16 and 18 laps. And if you can really save a lot, maybe you make it to 20. But I think the point is, at this rate, I would not expect anybody to be good to make it all the way to the end of the stage break right here. So we'll see when we see that first green flag pit stop, if guys try to short pit it as soon as that window opens to make it to the end of the stage, or if they try to run this fuel tank out and then make that pit stop. It's going to be an interesting call indeed, but still, 2x2 up front, no third lane yet, at least not on this run. So I think maybe everybody calmed down just a little bit less leaving the 62. Saw that truck wash up the track just a little bit as he was on the inside there through 1 and 2. And the biggest danger when trucks start to wash up is just that how close you're running here. That outside, you see, the reason they run that close is because they're trying to get a side draft off of the inside down the straightaways to hold even, or excuse me, through the turns to hold even, so that down the straightaway, when they get the momentum, they can try to push back clear. But Vicente Guerrero not letting that happen because he continues to maintain control here, leading this pack. He went top, now he's back to bottom. We do have some onboard cams here tonight. We'll get things kicked off here tonight with the 753 machine of Kenny Reel, who currently sits in that third position. Again, Kenny is one of the drivers that is carrying an onboard view for us here tonight. And we'll see if we can pull that up here in just a moment. But for Kenny Reel in general, I know he didn't make the playoffs, but he is certainly a driver that he's used to getting the job done at these super speedways. And he's going to be looking to see if he can grab his first victory of the playoffs here tonight. Again, he's not a driver that's currently in the playoffs, but still looking for a win before the season's all said and done. Nonetheless, as he currently now sits in second, doing a lot of pushing. The driver out of Evansville, top on the cockpit view. Oh, he gets turned. Into the wall he goes, one up and over. Vicente Guerrero, caution is out for the second time here tonight. And this one is going to collect a few more than the first one did. Just as we were switching to the cockpit view, something must have went wrong here in a pretty big way. As this is the 15 of Jeff Crosby Sr. We see pretty torn up there, especially on the right front. He's trying to get that thing back going, but I don't know if he's going to have much success with the way the steering's broken right now. He's really struggling to get this thing to turn here. We'll see if he decides to tow it or if he's going to try to limp it back to the pits. There's Matt Wagner, Eric Laurie, and Rick Sanchez. A few spots up. Vicente Guerrero was the truck that we saw up in the air when we switched to the TV camera view. So let's go back and see what happens here. Again, second caution here so far in just stage one. And, oh, man, it's going to happen coming off of turn 4, the 14. Going to get a little bit too much help here. That's the 33 that was trying to push him clear. The 33, by the way, is Jeff Crosby Jr. And watch this here from the chopper view first. This will kind of give you a better idea of if he just gets a little bit offset or if he's just pushing him at a bad time here. Oh, he does. He gets just a little bit offset, and as Crosby tries to kind of realign himself, just kind of swipes that 14 down to the left, gets him into Kenny Reel, and then the wreck's on from here. You see as Vicente Guerrero slides towards the outside wall, the truck starts to lift, and then when he hits the outside wall, gets up on the safer barrier and actually goes into the catch fence. And then there's the 66 of Bubba Winningham, the 15, Jeff Crosby Sr. Len McNeese had nowhere to go. That was... Let's go back here and look at this at a couple different angles here first. The first one I want to look at here is back for Vicente Guerrero. And, you know, the other problem with this is we talked about pushing in the corners, but this is such a vulnerable spot to do it at. And again, we've already seen plenty of drivers making it work, and this case isn't so much of where he was pushing. It was just that, he kind of got a little offset, and when he tried to realign, that's when he kind of just gave that little bit of a swipe that sends the 14 around. Right there, just that little bit of contact, and it's right as the truck is unloading off the corner. That makes it so vulnerable and so easy to get spun out there, and then there's the 14. Look at this. Man, what a ride for Vicente Guerrero as he gets up on the safer barrier into the catch fence as the rest of the field wrecks behind him. Bubba Winningham, nowhere to go as you see his rear bumper fall off. Vicente Guerrero slides back down. He gets into Jeff Crosby Sr. Let's take a couple different angles of this here. This is from TV1, and boy, he almost was able to save it. I think if he could have kept it out of Kenny Reel there in the 753, he's okay, and maybe it's a best save of the race, but for Vicente Guerrero, just not quite able to, and he's tore up a lot of good trucks here. Second wreck that we've seen tear up a few guys that have been really good so far here tonight, and of course drivers that are in the playoffs that have been involved in both of these so far. For Jeff Crosby Sr., boy, he had quite the onboard view of this one. Watch this. Sees it happen. He tries to go to the middle, but just can't quite split the gap, and then once he gets ran into from behind, it's on from there. As here comes Vicente Guerrero sliding back down, and there's kind of the finishing blow, if you will, that gave Jeff Crosby Sr. all that right front damage. Give you another angle of this here from the turn 4 cam. Actually, watch this here from the drone cam. Look at Vicente Guerrero. And by the way, that truck lifting up, that's what we talked about here tonight. And, it's not something that you necessarily consider as a driver because, of course, you don't expect a wreck, obviously. But with the new aero updates, when these trucks get sideways, it doesn't take much for them to get up off the ground. And you know that when you start getting in the air, the wreck's going to be a lot worse, cause a lot more damage. So for Vicente Guerrero, it's going to be interesting to see if he's got to use a fast repair on that one or not, as he didn't necessarily hit the wall too hard, although looks like that 14 truck, with as cleaned up as it is, I got to believe he may have taken his fast repair to see if he can get things fixed up here and work his way back to the front undamaged. Speaking of the front, now leading the way is Adam Kilday in the 85, one of the playoff drivers. As running just behind him in second is going to be Les Levy. He'll line up on the outside here of row 1. Kenny Reel still hanging up here after that last incident. He sits in third. It's going to be John Guerra back and forth with Jimmy Reynolds. Actually, that's Dave Hunt, who currently sits in 5th. And then Jimmy Reynolds to his outside in 6th. And then back in that 7th spot, you've got Zach Fritsch, Anthony English in 8th, Derek Donna back in 9th, and Gary Bergeron rounding out your top 10. By the way, we do have a couple more onboard views here tonight. Take a chance to acknowledge some of the drivers carrying those views for us. Derek Donna, the second of 3 driver cam views that we'll have for you here throughout the race as he gets ready to get back going. By the way, he's up 14 positions right now from where he started this race at, and he kind of, I don't want to say snuck into the playoffs, but the reason that he did make it in was a little bit because of some of the factors that played out with certain drivers after the playoffs had been decided. One of them, no longer a driver in the series, that got moved out, which of course allowed for somebody new to be put in. And then last but certainly not least, for the driver cams that we have here tonight, go all the way back to Dana Shepard, who currently sits in that 19th position. He's up 1 spot from where he started this race at. Still a lot of work to do, though, here, especially if he wants to get back to the front before the end of the stage. All right, well, 16 of 70 laps complete. It's going to be 17 of 70 here once we get the green flag. So that'll now put us with just under, actually, 20 laps to go here in the stage. So that's still plenty of time to get to the front. And at this point, drivers still, I don't believe that they're good to go on fuel, at least not as of yet, although starting to get closer. You figure if you make 16, probably get around 32 to 33. If you can make 18, 34 to 35. So, well, I don't know. It might be a little bit closer than I initially thought here. We'll see if drivers decide to save. That's usually a pretty good indication of if they feel like they can make it on fuel or not. If nobody saves, clearly nobody feels like they can make it. If everybody single files out here, you must be feeling pretty good about it. Green flag is back in the air as we get going through the gears. It's a good restart for the 85 of Adam Kilday. Les Levy's going to try to get back to his quarter panel before they dive off to climb the banking into turn number 1. And he'll not have any luck, but the 59 of John Guerra quickly to the 8 of the 62. He's going to try to line him up here for a big push down the backstretch. And watch for Les Levy here to get a big run. Nothing doing yet. The 753 of Kenny Reel was able to get locked onto the 85, and now it's a 2-on-2 tandem all the way off into turn 3. Dave Hunt with a little bit more support for the bottom lane than the 17 of Jimmy Reynolds has up top at the moment. And how long can each pusher push? Eventually these trucks get hot. You got to back off and cool it down. But so far it seems like the 753 of Kenny Reel got the better start and has been doing the better pushing up to this point, at least through this first lap here. Back under green. Further back, maybe thinking about a little 3-wide action. The 215 of Derek Donna, that is. Didn't make a move that time. Zach Fritsch, though, looking like he may be ready to go with him if he does. The 16 of Nathan Warren has now made his way back inside the top 10 after being involved in that first incident. He runs just in front of the 1. Gary Bergeron, David Overstreet back in 12th. Stephen Lane, haven't had a chance to talk about him yet here tonight, but he currently sits in 14th. And he's up 8 positions from where he started this race at. It's another one of the round of 16 drivers trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. Sean Dion back in 16th with David Booth in 17th. And Dana Shepard 18th. Douglas R. Johnson in 19th. And Dustin Logston rounding out your top 20. 2-on-2 tandem just behind them. Jeff Crosby Jr. trying to get around the 2 on the inside of Bubba Winningham and the 5 of Rick Sanchez. Looks like he's going to be successful in doing so. Back up front, the outside lane is starting to fade here just briefly now. And you wonder if the bottom's just really getting it together or if the 53 has just got something figured out. Dave Hunt, I mean, he has been kind of a rocket ship so far here since the start of the race and now finds himself in just about the most important position you can be at on the track at a super speedway, and that is the position of lead pusher. So Kenny Reel, who's done a lot of pushing here tonight, now has a chance to try to lead some laps for himself. Ooh, man, a couple of big moments as we had a couple of trucks have to catch it there into turn 3, especially towards the front. John Guerra trying to regroup, trying to get back to the rear bumper of Les Levy. Now another big move, as that time it was the 85 of Adam Kilday who went from the top to the bottom. Thanks to the assist from Les Levy, and I wonder if the reason the 62 may have been wiggling a little bit is because he was starting to get hot. Either way, by him dumping the 85 down to the inside, he'll now get a chance to cool off. And if the 59 of John Guerra can give him enough of a push, could get this 62 right back to the front of the field. And I'll tell you what, Les Levy, I've had a chance to watch this guy in action before. And in the NSRA series, if you remember back to a couple seasons ago, and I know he still races a lot now, especially here in the OP series. I mean, he knows how to get the job done at any sort of super speedway, whether it's a hybrid super speedway such as Atlanta, whether it's Talladega, Daytona, iRacing Super Speedway, Legacy Daytona, you name it. He's going to have a good shot there. The 62, one of the veterans of the series, and one of the best drivers to ever do it in OP racing. 20 of 70 laps now complete, and it puts us with exactly 15 laps to go here in stage 1. Now it's going to be 14 to go as they'd cross the line that time. Looking for a move up top here. Dave Hunt, he's thinking about it. He's got to commit before he gets split 3 wide. Will he? Yes, he does. Further back, we are still going to see some 3 wide, though, as the 81 of Dustin Logston jumps to the outside, and here comes the cavalry. Looks like the 33 of Jeff Crosby Jr. is going to go with them. And that's not the only help they've got, just a little bit further back. How about Eric Laurie trying to see if he can help this third lane make a surge into turn 3 as well? And, ooh, man, Crosby had to back off just a little bit there into the corner. That stalled this momentum on the outside, as it was because the 62 of Les Levy had made a jump to the top of the racetrack. He wants no part of pushing that 53 of Dave Hunt. He wants to go to the lead. And now the third lane continues to stall the middle, as the top 3 on the inside have now all gotten clear and can make a move if they wanted to. Zach Fritz in the 12. Boy, he got really, really close to getting clear there down the short chute, but no cigar. So as they maintain a 3x3 formation, this is where things can start to get gridlocked. As a driver, this is why you want to try to go to the front as soon as you can, because once this happens, it just becomes so incredibly difficult to try to make your way to the front. It almost feels like regardless of what you do. So we'll see if anybody finds any way to make anything work, but looks like that third lane might be starting to fade out here. David Overstreet still up top working with Les Levy, and they do still have help from the 81 of Dustin Logston, but you just continue to ask yourself, how long can this lane maintain momentum? Sean Dion in the 768. He sits back in that 17th spot. He's up 4 positions from where he started this race at. And then things start to single file out right around Gary Bergeron on back through Len McNeese, David Booth, Dana Shepard, Douglas Johnson, Bubba Winningham, Rick Sanchez, Gene Watkinson. And actually, Gene Watkinson looks like the first car that has now just officially lost the draft. as he's trying to catch back up to Rick Sanchez. Matt Wagner, second in this little pack that may have lost the draft, and then Jeff Crosby Sr. was involved in an earlier incident, got pretty significant damage. I think he's just trying to keep that truck pretty clean right now. Looks like a couple people in the chat. Ginger Parent says, let's go Derek Donna and Dana Shepard. David Trailer, good to see you in here. Dan Parent says, let's go Dana Shepard and Derek Donna. And Alyssa says, Nash is rooting for the number 33, of Jeff Crosby Jr. So there you go. Wide variety of fans here tonight. And what a great race that we've seen so far. The pack racing has been phenomenal. But I'm still interested to see if we can make it to a green flag stop here. How would that potentially change the dynamic of this race entirely, as we wouldn't have this giant pack anymore. And that means there wouldn't be the opportunity to continue going 3x3. But again, we said that fuel was going to be borderline pretty close here once we get to the end of this stage, and I think that is still the case. Question is, how far can you go, and is it farther than everybody else? But the other problem is you don't want to run out and cost yourself even after you take that, kind of the green and white checkered for the stage break. You got to be able to make it around to pit for fuel. Otherwise, it's kind of a waste of a strategy, because you're going to lose your chance of, or whatever chance you may have had at potentially winning this race. When they cross the line this time, it'll be 25 of 70 laps now complete. So the first race in the round of 16 for OP Racing's ButtKicker Grand National Series here on Wednesday nights, as Les Levy continues to just claw slowly but surely his way all the way to the front of the field here. And he had been in the middle for a while, but he just didn't like the pushing that was going on. Felt like it may not have been enough. That's why he jumped up to the top, where looks like all things considered, it's working out pretty well. In fact, they're tandemed up so well, him and David Overstreet, that is, that the 81 is struggling to actually catch these two. That's Dustin Logston. Going to be 9 laps to go in stage number 1 when they cross the line next time. The question is, can they make it all the way back to the green and white checkers clean? And this will answer the question about fuel, as here comes pretty much the entirety of the middle portion of this pack. And so it looks like everybody actually gets in clean. Wow, that was a very well-executed pit stop. But the drivers that came down right there were Adam Kilday, Anthony English, Zach Fritz, Jimmy Reynolds, Nathan Warren, Jeff Crosby Jr., and Dana Shepard as well. So I would assume here, at least for this stage, they're all just going to fuel up, take off. Maybe a couple drivers take 2 tires. In fact, looks like at least a few of them did. Let's see who gets out first here. Adam Kilday, let him in. Can he lead him out? Close, but not quite. It's going to be Anthony English who does that. Zach Fritz, he gets a pretty good run, and he'll actually jump in front of the 85. Now the 33 trying to make a decision here. Does he want to let Adam Kilday jump in line? Looks like he does. I was going to say, or does he want to take it for himself? But I think he feels like their best shot is to kind of just work together for now, at least until we get to the last lap or two of this stage. So now with that pit stop, you wonder what position does this put your leaders in. I think that Dave Hunt is just no way that he can make it on fuel as it stands right now, especially since he's been leading this pack. So I would expect more pit stops in general, but I'm almost wondering for that 53 if it's going to have to be a bit sooner than everybody else since he's burning more fuel. Either way, 27 of 70 laps complete, and right now it is all Dave Hunt out in front. John Guerra second, Shane Ward in third. That puts 2 Canadian drivers on the podium, with one of the American drivers who currently leads the way. David Overstreet is in 5th. Currently finds himself up 11 positions from where he started this race at. For David Overstreet, I mean, how much would this win mean to him? Another driver who not in the playoffs, as surprising as it is to say that. He's still not, I mean, he's not in the playoffs, but he's still looking for that first win of the season here. Let's see if things pan out for him, as Stephen Lane currently sits in that 13th spot. Rick Sanchez is back in 14th. There's Kenny Real 15th, Anthony English, and multiple others all getting ready to get regrouped as kind of one big pack here. And so if you're the 53 here of Dave Hunt, I mean, you've kind of already made your bet here, and you're going to have to lay in it in the sense of he's going to run out of fuel a little bit sooner, but if he gets lucky, maybe a lot of drivers will go down at the same time as the 53 does, you know, knowing that he's been as good as he has is out front so far here tonight. And will anybody dive below that double yellow line here off of turn 4 this time? Looks like they will not, at least not up front. Further back, though, they will. That's Jeff Crosby Sr. coming in along with Sean Dion and Matt Wagner. He gets it in there really, really deep. Now the other two are going to play a little bit of catch-up as they all eventually slide to a halt. Not a full halt, but certainly a pretty slow speed from going almost 200 miles an hour down to 40 to 60 for pace speed. And so now that still leaves out probably about a 5 to 10 car single file pack that leads the way here at Talladega. On the outside, that's the 59 of John Guerra. Again, I apologize for mixing up a few of the names here, getting used to everybody, and I have a couple similar names in this series that I do in some of the other series that I broadcast for, so should only take this week to get adjusted to it. But again, I do want to apologize as here we go. We're going to see the rest of the pit stops right here. Leading them in, looks like it is going to be Les Levy and Dave Hunt. And as they all are able to get the trucks down to pace speed further back, looks like the 111 decided to pit as well. That was Gene Watkinson. And so once they work their way out of the pits, it looks like it's going to be probably somewhere between a 3 and 4 lap shootout all the way to the finish, potentially, maybe even 5 here in the rest of the stage. And no scheduled cautions until we do indeed get to that lap 35 point. By the way, with the rules are set up, I would assume that that caution for the stage winner would be at the start of lap 35. However, if it's the end, just keep that in mind. If we don't see the caution relatively soon, I would say, after we cross the line on lap 35, and that might mean it's at the end of lap 35. We'll just have to wait and see. So the 53 trying to get back up to speed. Meanwhile, up front, Anthony English being scored as your leader. And now here goes a move. The 33 trying to jump to the outside. Jeff Crosby Jr. Now he's going to look to the middle, back to the top. Zach Fritz jumped up, and now the 12 is going to surge out to the point. He'll drop down into turn 3. New leader at Talladega. Zach Fritz in the 12. How good has he been so far this season? The 44 of Anthony English doing all he can to try to push this 12 back clear enough to where he can jump up and make a move for himself. There's nothing doing just yet. Look on the scoring tower. Look how many playoff drivers we have currently running inside the top 10. 8 of the round of 16 drivers currently run inside the top 10. So that means there's only 2 non-playoff drivers that have enough speed so far to run top 10. Now again, the draft is the great equalizer, so you'd expect here to track like Talladega, really everybody would be close, but it's the pit stops that are kind of the great divider. If you make one mistake and they don't get a caution for a while, it does not take long for that gap that they've got on you to get stretched out in a pretty good hurry. But right now, if you're Anthony English, you're kind of pinned to a degree. Meanwhile, the outside, a little bit more options here. Zach Fritz currently leads that line, but the 753 of Kenny Reel has Vicente Guerrero just behind him. Jeremy Osborne, not Jeremy Osborne, Bubba Winningham, again, I have to apologize. In the 66, again, another similar color scheme. I'm used to seeing another night of the week, but anyway, Bubba Winningham in the 66. He currently sits up 19 positions from where he started this race at. And then you've got Nathan Warren back in 9th and Eric Laurie currently rounding out your top 10 in that John Deere Chevy Silverado. They'll be coming to just 2 laps to go on the stage when they cross the line this next time. Vicente Guerrero, after being involved in an earlier incident, now finds himself in position to go up here and try to fight for this stage win. By the way, once we do go back green here, once the stage is complete, then we go back green for the rest of the race. Looking like it's going to be probably somewhere around a 30-lap shootout to the finish, which again, it's enough time here to make things happen, but it's not as long as we're used to seeing in some of the other leagues that at least I broadcast for, and I know guys that run. And so I think the big takeaway from that is figure out what your car can do right now, because you might have to start getting a little bit more aggressive once we get that final stage started. Here is just now 1.5 laps to go. In stage 1, Anthony English continues to lead as he drag races the 12 of Zach Fritz down the backstretch. Fritz has got a really, really good run. He can thank the push from the 33. Jeff Crosby Jr. for that one. Not quite enough to get the 12 all the way out to the lead, at least not yet. But he'll lock back on now, trying to push him, but you got to be careful here. If he swipes it, that could cause a big, big incident. Here with just 33 of 75 laps complete. Going to go around one of the lappers there. That's the 5 of Rick Sanchez. Again, not sure if he made a mistake and had to use a fast pair at the wrong time, or if this was a technical difficulty. I'm just not sure, but to see Rick Sanchez go lap down is certainly a bit surprising to say the least. As up front now, Zach Fritz leads the way, and watch for this 12 to start doing a little bit of controlling. Seems pretty content to stay on the inside for now, but if that top gets a bit of a run, you wonder, does he think about jumping up to try to block? He will not do anything just yet. By the way, this is what we know of right now, the white flag that we are currently on here in the stage. We'll see if this does indeed end the stage and bring us to break, or if they do one more lap around and throw the caution at the end of lap 35. Big push off of turn 4 from the top groove. That's the 33. Jeff Crosby Jr. Does he have enough of a push to get the 12 all the way to the line out in front? Doesn't look like it as he starts to fade. Here they come through the tri-oval, side by side, all the way to the green and white checkered. And that time looked like it was the 12 of Zach Fritsch and the 44 of Anthony English, who pretty much all but tied. Too close to call. No caution, though, at least not yet for the stage break. They're going to wreck out back. They're going to wreck out back. Vicente Guerrero goes into the wall, and now it will bring out the caution. I was so wondering if that caution for the stage was going to come out a little bit sooner. It didn't. And you see the aftermath here. But Vicente Guerrero, again, unfortunately, just kind of the innocent victim here, I believe, but he gets the worst end of the stick. Let's watch this here. Ooh, just gets ran into from behind by Bubba Winningham. And as he slides up, backs into the outside wall, nothing he can do, and then got really, really close down there once that truck kind of came to a halt in the middle of the racetrack. But watch this again here. We're going to zoom it in for you. Watch the 14, watch the 66 of Winningham. I'm not sure if there's just a brief checkup or whatever the deal is, but you can see the checkup's enough to where the 66 is just not quite able to dodge him in time. Bubba Winningham tries to make that evasive maneuver, but just a little bit too late. And the 14 right there is the tank slapper on the left side, the driver's side, door and quarter panels. So we'll have to see how much that damage affects him here. If he's got a fast spare, I got to think he would use it, but if he doesn't, he's going to have some decisions to be made, that is for sure. Give you a couple more angles of this one here before we go back live. Well, I said as we go back live here, but looks like we just did. So we'll go ahead and go back and get 2 more angles of this here. First from the cockpit view. Sees it happening, but then just kind of gets punted around. It's the 14 Vicente Guerrero. So he did his job in terms of checking up. Unfortunately, someone just behind him not quite able to potentially do theirs. Watch this again here. This is now the onboard view of Vicente Guerrero and what he saw. And we just looked at him, so actually I meant to go down just a little bit here. All the way down to... Well, actually, it looks like that was pretty much it. We'll give you one more angle, though, here from TV3. So watch this here as they come spiraling down towards turn number 3. That's where we're going to have this trouble right here as we go back to the yellow flag. And this was something more recent for the 101. Which what happened here is it's... There we go. I was going to say it's not letting me go back for some reason right now, but... Just up front, contact starts, and then... You know, in this case, you might be wondering, well, why is he not talking much more about the initial contact? Because the initial contact didn't cause the wreck in this case. It certainly could have led to some of the trouble. Maybe you could call it leading to the wreck, but it's just hard racing. Everybody's going for it here as stage break is now complete. And so with that, as everybody will get back up to speed, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to get some things sorted out, and when we come back, you're ready to go back green for the final stage here at Talladega. Stick with us on PGR eSports.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway with the HRRacing 185 for the OP Racing ButtKicker Grand National Series as they kicked off their playoffs here tonight. Again, if you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here, as we did have just a bit of a delay here right as we returned from break. Drivers were supposed to be going back to green flag racing this lap, but looks like we'll delay it and try again next lap. The good news with that is it gives us a chance to pull in one of these drivers, and in fact, the man that I want to talk to first is a man who is going to lead this restart. Bubba Winningham, one of the playoff drivers, currently sits in that first position. Let's see if we can get a copy with him here. Oh, never mind. We're going to take that back because it looks like they have scrubbed off the delayed green. So we are going to go back green this time. So we'll leave Bubba to it as he will now work his way into the tribal alongside Dave Hunt in the 53. Nathan Warren back in third. Les Levy in fourth. Jeff Crosby Jr. in fifth. John Guerra in sixth. David Overstreet, Jimmy Reynolds round out row number 4. Here we go. Green flag in the air. The final stage is underway at Talladega. Good restart this time for both lanes. They're going to be even as they drag race down into turn number 1. You notice that Bubba Winningham, a little bit of damage here on the left side door of that number 66. You wonder how much is that going to affect him in clean air at a track where drafting is so important and the speeds are this high. Any bit of damage can have an effect on your truck, especially when you're out in front. We'll see what Dave Hunt can do as they now still work side by side down the backstretch. Les Levy pushing on the 53. The 16 of Nathan Ward pushing on the 66. Dave Hunt almost got clear. If they had probably about another 100 yards or so, that 53 gets clear and jumps to the bottom. He may have another shot at it here, though, off of 4 as Les Levy continuing to just run him over to try to get him to get cleared down, and it's working. Look at this. They're going to get 1, maybe 2 here. I think Les Levy is like, man, you got to drop down. Dave Hunt, though, is not going to take it. So they will stay in a 2x2 formation as they go across the line. Top of the racetrack could be the place to be at the end of the race. Drivers are taking note of that. Keep that in mind. Meanwhile, further back, look who's ready to go back to the front. It's the 12 of Zach Fritsch and the 39 as well of Shane Ward, who we haven't had a chance to talk about too much here tonight. But the 39 is already up 9 positions from where he started this race at. Right now he runs in 17th, and he wants more as now he'll jump up to 15th. Oh man, that was a big moment as you had a couple drivers that jumped up to that third lane. The cavalry continues to grow as now it's the middle that looks very disorganized and starting to collapse on itself as the 33 of Jeff Crosby Jr. made that move to the top of the racetrack. It's going to be a payoff, though, because he'll get clear. Now he's going to get split 4 wide through the tribal. Coming across the stripe. Hold your breath here. Oh, man, how long can they make this work? They're going to go off into turn 1, still 4 wide. No room yet for the 753 truck to get back in line. I thought maybe there was going to be a spot a little bit further back right here. And yes, there is. He'll finally be able to jump back in. Wow, what a close call that was. But how about this? 3x3 throughout all of this lead pack right now here at Talladega. Now the 33 gets clear. He'll jump to the bottom as the 85 Adam Kilday. He'll jump down to the middle. 2 wide for the lead. 3x3 for second. The 44 of Anthony English and the 12 of Zach Fritsch. 2 of the playoff drivers trying to keep this third lane alive. Now they're going to get some help. Here comes the 753 of Kenny Reel, the 39. He's made his way back to the front on this outside as well. 3-4 trucks. The more you get, the faster that lane is going to go forward. But in the middle right now, the 85 of Adam Kilday and the 62 of Les Levy. Man, as good as they're doing, you can see the 62 backing off for Levy. I just think he's out of temps right here. Les has been pushing for so long. I don't know if he's got anything left to push with. And as he has to back off to allow that truck to cool down, that allows the top to surge. And it looks like Anthony English, he's going to get clear. He'll now jump down to the middle. Zach Fritsch is going to try to do the same. But up front, man, Jeff Crosby Jr., where did he come from? I mean, he made the move up top, took him probably about less than a lap before he got clear, jumped all the way down to the bottom. And now the driver out of Indianapolis is trying to see if he can grab his first win of the playoffs and get himself locked into the next round. The 53 of Dave Hunt continues to impress here tonight. He's up 12 from where he started, but he has been in the top 5 just about every time that we've mentioned him. Further back in the pack, all the drivers as aggressive as a lot of them are being. That makes you kind of want to wander your eyes towards the back of this group and wonder, is anybody being conservative right now? And the answer is yes. In fact, Derek Donna, Stephen Lane, Jeff Crosby Sr., all just sitting at the back right now, kind of riding around, potentially waiting for the big one. And some of these drivers have already had to repair damage and potentially use their fast repair. And that could be a big part of the reason why they are not necessarily pushing the pace too much right now, just trying to take it easy. As Dustin Logston sits in 23rd. Gary Bergeron 22nd. Vicente Guerrero is in 21st. Remember, he did have to take his fast repair earlier. Matt Wagner's in 20th. Rick Sanchez in 19th with Eric Laurie. Well, he was in 18th, but he's going to jump a few here as he moves his way on the outside forward. And all this racing still with, well, we're getting ready to hit what's going to be 25 laps to go here in just a few laps from now. And oh my goodness. Something's got to give here, I'm telling you what. Oh man, it almost just did right there in the middle, about 4 rows back. There was a big wobble, I believe. Was that the 85 of Kilday? No, it wasn't. It was actually even further back than that here. I think that was Shane Ward in the 39. Might have even been the 77. Either way, they all get it back together. As up front now, Les Levy, all the pushing he did to try to keep himself up here is going to pay off, because now he will go to the front as he leads this inside line. And for Anthony English here, all he's worried about is that third lane. All he can do with the inside is try to side draft. And I mean, the amount of experience that both of those drivers shared together is probably more than the majority of this field has. Maybe that's not so much true. We've got quite a few veterans here in the Grand National Series, but in general, the point being, Les Levy and Anthony English, a lot of respect for each other. English knows what he has to do to try to stay even with the inside, and Les Levy knows what he needs to do, as does Jeff Crosby Jr., to keep this inside from getting kind of side drafted and surpassed by the outside. And when they cross the line this time around, it will officially be 25 to go. Still 2x2 for now, but looks like further back, the third lane's going to start to get some momentum charged up again here through 3 and 4. Leading that group for the moment, it's Len McNeese. Only truck he's got help from right now is the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. So we'll see if they continue to get lined up. Usually the more trucks you start to get in a lane, the more that want to join. And now they are going to get another taker here. Further back, you see another truck's going to duck out. That's the 753 of Kenny Reel. Will anybody else now try to throw a block on this third lane as it continues its march to the front? Nobody yet. Len McNeese now just arriving on the back bumper of Kenny Reel. So he'll line him up here off of turn 2. Big push. You're going to see a lot of momentum here get generated through turn 3 and 4 for this outside line. And man, they are just mowing through the lanes right now in the rows. And that's what you get, right? When you have kind of a lane that just gets started, everybody's got fresh temps. Everybody can push just a little bit more. And so those first couple of rows, as you get that momentum going, they go by quick. Now, as you get further to the front, the pushing starts to become a little bit tougher to kind of beat, if you will. And oh man, oh my goodness, Les Levy. That truck almost got into the 16 and the 12. That could have been a whole lot worse, but that was really, really close to being another big one. I mean, we've already had a couple here tonight. I don't know if I'd say we've actually seen the big one yet. We certainly came close a few times. By the way, did want to mention here tonight, and while all the drivers are racing, a couple drivers that raced with a bit of special paint schemes, if you will, as today marks the remembrance of course, September 11th and the September 11th attacks. And I was trying to go back here and check out some of the paint schemes that I meant to show a little bit earlier. Some of the drivers that ran it, and that's exactly what I was looking for, was Douglas Johnson, who's running a Never Forget, Always Remember paint scheme. Let's see if we can get a zoomed-in shot. Sure enough, there you go, the 388 truck. Good-looking scheme to remember the greatest tragedy that ever happened in the United States. Certainly something that kind of united America together, but a day of remembrance for a lot of drivers, as I know they're out here tonight racing for fun and for playoff purposes, but about everybody in this field at that time was alive. Everybody remembers it. So a lot of drivers paying tribute and honor to it here tonight. Certainly a lot of respect in seeing that. Some of the beautiful paint schemes that we've had on track here tonight. Third lane still trying to get something going. Len McNeese, Vicente Guerrero, though, he's going to bail as he actually drops down to the middle. Now Len McNeese is going to have to fade all the way back to Dana Shepard in the 43, as he'll actually jump to the inside there, the 71 of Eric Laurie now all by himself. He's going to go all the way back to the back of this train here unless he can find a spot in line. Just 22 laps to go now, as it looks like things have briefly calmed down again. So before they get too crazy, we're going to take another break. We'll go side by side. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega.
I played a couple of simulators, and this was like very responsive. Especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
But you feel like you're really driving. It feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway, closing in on the final 20 laps of the HRRacing 185. For the ButtKicker Grand National Series for OP Racing, pit stops have now been officially complete. You saw them there while we were over break, and then the second group coming in just before we came back from break. And now the big question becomes, how do they all kind of sequence out here? That second group was a lot bigger than the first group, meaning that it was a little bit trickier, but overall, I mean, everybody got into their pit boxes clean. I guess I should say got into the pits clean. Not sure if we had any penalties for speeding, at least not yet. But let's see here. Watch for that group to go roaring by on the outside. Sure enough, Zach Fritsch, along with the 16 of Nathan Warren and the 33 of Jeff Crosby Jr. They're all going to get clear. They'll jump down as Les Levy, David Overstreet still trying to get back up to speed, as is Kenny Reel. And a couple more are going to make the jump, the leap, if you will, on the outside. It's the 85 of Kilday and the 44 of Anthony English. 17, Jimmy Reynolds. He's still up here as well. Currently sits in the 9th spot. Vicente Guerrero has tagged back onto this group. And then just behind Vicente Guerrero is Dave Hunt at 53. Rick Sanchez right now is just within draft range. He's going to pull Matt Wagner, maybe Dana Shepard as well, up into this lead pack, who's still getting kind of some draft out back from Len McNeese. And so the point I'm trying to make here is we don't exactly know how big this lead pack's going to be until probably about another handful of laps, but at least for now, it's about 10 cars deep, so we have significantly thinned the herd. And so even though it looked like everybody got in clean, everybody did not get out as even as they came in, as still a couple pit stops being made, potentially to serve a few penalties. as John Guerra finds himself in the pits, as does Shane Ward, the two Canadian drivers in the field here tonight. And it's 18 laps to go, but what's important to remember right here is that this race it's not done yet with pit stops, right? Because we talked about the fuel window being about 16 to 18 laps. Well, they made those stops with 20 to go, so nobody can make it all the way to the finish as of yet. One more green flag pit stop means that there's a chance this pack will get even smaller. And now I get really, really curious as to when do you make that pit stop? If you've got enough guys that you're working with in a Discord here, do you try to maybe go in a little bit sooner, break this pack up, or does everybody try to run this out in case we get a caution and then just pit if we don't once they get to the end of the fuel that they've got in the tank at the moment? Ooh, man, the 16. Oh, hold on to it. Fritz in the 12 gets out of shape as he went onto the apron briefly. What a save from Zach Fritz. Oh, my goodness. That was another big, big moment right there as the 12 got, I think there might have been a little contact that got him sent down to where he was. And that could have been a whole lot worse, as you can see just how stressful it looks from his point of view as he runs right in the middle of the pack here on the inside lane. And he can't necessarily do pushing, as now you're going to see another one drop in front on the inside. And that's going to push Zach back another spot as the 14 of Vicente Guerrero looks for a bit of a side draft off the 12 now. He'll jump back to the top. 2x2 down the back stretch. The inside has more help, but the outside's got two really good pushers in Kenny Reel and Vicente Guerrero. Adam Kilday, Anthony English, currently the two trucks out in front. Kilday pushing English. But this 10-truck lead pack I thought was going to grow just a little bit here based off of how close David Overstreet and a few others were, but, excuse me, not David Overstreet, Rick Sanchez was, but they've actually faded. Sanchez is back to about 3.8, almost 4 seconds behind the leaders, as is Matt Wagner, Dana Shepard, and Len McNeese. So they've got to really dial it in here, and this pack's going to get a bit bigger. As you see, some of these groups are going to kind of converge into one here over the course of the next handful of laps, but they may not have enough time, because even though we do still have a pit stop left, we've also only got 15 laps to go. So you got to get back up to these leaders, I would argue, before we get to that final green flag pit stop. Otherwise, I just don't think you're realistically going to have enough time. But either way, we'll find out once we get to that point. As they stay 2x2 up front, how about a little crank it up here at Talladega? Here we go. That's going to wrap it up for tonight's segment of Crank It Up. I hope everybody did enjoy. 13 laps to go now here at Talladega, and the intensity continues to slowly but surely ramp up. And I think that, you know, this is still kind of the calm before the storm for that pit stop. But as soon as they all go in to get just a splash of gas, and boy, you have got to be perfect. And now, look at this. Starting to single file out. Only 2 trucks now left on that top lane. It's the 753 of Kenny Reel and the 14 of Vicente Guerrero. Watch for pit stops potentially anytime as early as this lap. Again, if you pit now, you're good to go. You can make it all the way to the end of the fuel window. The big question is just, when do they decide to come in? The 16 and the 12 with a little pump fake right there towards the middle portion of this lead pack. But nobody goes in that time. They'll all stay out yet again. And so now it's going to be 12 laps to go here. By the way, I do want to give you a quick update on the next couple of races, or the next couple of tracks, I guess I should say, and of course the track car combo that we're going to have over the course of the next few weeks for the ButtKicker Grand National Series. And so tonight, of course, was Talladega with the trucks. Next week, we head to Legacy Daytona with the Gen 4 cars. That's going to be a fun one with a lot of, you're going to have to be careful. Those cars there, It's going to be a bumpy ride, that's for sure. And then for the final race in the round of 16, we head back to regular Daytona International Speedway for the Xfinity car combo. And then for the round of 8, going to be just 2 races. It'll be the trucks at Legacy Daytona. Here we go. We'll hold the rest of that thought for now as pit stops. The final one is underway. Can everybody get in clean? They fan out 3 wide, but yes, they do. Another very, very well executed pit stop from this entire field. And I say entire field, I guess I should say that entire lead pack pretty much. Although a couple of them, most notably Vicente Guerrero, Kenny Real, were not able to come into the pits that time. They'll have to make their stop next time around, as this one takes just about everybody else. Kilday, Anthony English, Jimmy Reynolds. You see the 071, Eric Laurie sliding in there late. But rounding out the schedule real quick, the second race in the round of 8, those 2 races actually is going to be trucks at Legacy Daytona, and then the Gen 4 cars at Talladega, and then we'll go back to the Xfinity cars for Daytona night for the championship race. All right, so here comes Kenny Real, Vicente Guerrero off of turn 4. Would expect them to pit this time, and sure enough, that's exactly what they're going to do. Vicente Guerrero stays on the outside as Kenny Real will dive low. They both had to get in probably a little bit more aggressive than they would have liked to right there to try to hope that they can maintain position, and now looks like it's going to leave Jeff Crosby Sr. as the only truck out on the racetrack. Looks like he is drafting, though, with the 39 of Shane Ward, who is not currently on the lead lap, and he might just be hoping for a caution at this point. That'd be my best guess, and looks like that second pack brought in quite a few this time around. Matt Wagner, Kenny Real, we talked about him coming in, Dustin Logston, Douglas Johnson, Dana Shepard, Steve Lane, Derek Donna, and so now we go back up to where Zach Fritz is going to be towing Adam Kilday, Jeff Crosby Jr., and multiple others here, probably right by just about everybody. In fact, let's see how close can Vicente Guerrero and Kenny Real stay. They're just now in turn 1, trying to get back up to full pace as the leaders are already at full speed. Watch from the rear chase. Oh, man, I don't think they're going to be able to hold on here. Vicente Guerrero is going to have to push Kenny Real for all he's worth to even have a chance at it. These trucks a little bit more horsepower than they used to have, but again, I just don't know. Kenny Real, you can see Dave Hunt is fading, kind of getting smaller in his windshield a lot quicker than he would like him to be. They've now fallen back to a second. Looks like that gap's starting to even out. It's close. They might be okay here. We'll see if they can hold on. If they do, that would extend this lead pack back to 11 trucks. Actually, it would be 10. Still waiting on Jeff Crosby Sr. to make his final pit stop. Just 9 laps to go, so as we await the 15 to make a pit stop, as looks like Gary Bergeron, he's not made his final stop either. So they currently sit 1-2. Jeff Crosby Sr.'s up 23 from where he started this race at. Gary's up 17. But again, they will not maintain that position unless we get a caution, and the kind of late stay out strategy and hopes for kind of gambling for a caution. Otherwise, like I said, things are just not going to work out. So now the race is on. Everybody's good to go on fuel, at least to the end of regulation here. If we get any overtimes, that could change the complexity up a bit as well, but it's all single file for now. The question is, who's going to be the first truck to jump out of line? Further back, here we go. It's going to be Kenny Real and Vicente Guerrero. Now further up, looks like the 33 of Jeff Crosby Jr. He saw that, so now he'll jump out. The 43 of English goes with 3 wide through the tri-oval up top. Here comes Kenny Real and Vicente Guerrero. And they draw even as they cross the line. What a run. The 753 of Kenny Real gets clear, has the opportunity to jump down, and he'll go to the middle. Does he go all the way to the bottom? Not yet. Still content to stay in front of the 33. Watch for Jeff Crosby Jr. to try to make the move either to the bottom or the top right here. And it seems like he's content to stick with Kenny Real. No move yet as Anthony English still stuck in the middle between Vicente Guerrero and Zach Fritz. Now the 33 is going to drop low. Kenny Real not able to cover in time. For Kenny Real, this is where things start to get more and more stressful as they went 4 wide around Gary Bergeron there, so he will now lose that position as Jeff Crosby Sr. now currently the only truck that has not made that final pit stop yet. And how stressful is this for Kenny Real? In position to potentially grab a win here tonight. But Zach Fritz, I mean, he's another driver who's been up front for just about the entirety of this race. Jeff Crosby Jr., just about everybody in this lead pack is going to have a chance here at the end. It's just about setting yourself up to be in the right place at the right time. And ooh, another wiggle right there as the 33 is going to move back up. No help in the middle. Anthony English is going to draw back even, but this is really going to hurt that middle line. And as they fade back a little bit, the 753, Kenny Real gets back to the middle. He'll take it, some contact. Contact, can they save it? Yes, they do. Man, things getting really, really tight. That looked like two drivers fighting for the same piece of real estate right there. And we'll back that one up as that was a really, really close call. Going through 3 and 4 here. Watches the 85 of Kilday goes up. Kenny Real tries to come down. They meet in the middle. And oh, caution's out just as we were looking back at that. Trouble here, I believe, is this trouble further back. I'm trying to figure out exactly who this trouble was for. So we got some smoke and we got one stopped on the wall. That's Kenny Real. And the 753 trying to figure out how much damage he's got. Ooh, looks like that right side is where he made contact with presumably the outside wall. But I guess it could have been another truck depending here. So it's going to now be potentially either a 2-lap shootout or a first overtime attempt. So this is coming through the tri-oval here. And oh my goodness. Wow, what an impact for Anthony English. My goodness. But for Kenny Real here, tight racing through the pack. Let's go back to the chopper view first. And so watches, they're 3 wide here. And let's see, does Kenny come down or does English come up? Watch the left side tires here for the 753. From this view, they're painted on that white line. As they work through the tri-oval, they start to move down. Yeah, he's definitely not on that double white line when the contact is made. You compare that to Anthony English right here. English is sitting kind of right in between. And so from that view, from what it looks like, from what I can see, English may have drifted up just ever so slightly, but it looked like Kenny Real was coming down maybe just a little bit more than Anthony English was coming up here. This is from the zoomed-in view. Yeah, I do think Anthony's slightly drifting, but again, Kenny Real at the same time, he had moved down about a quarter to half a lane from where he was right here. And so again, that's just tight racing, though. You can't really get mad at either driver. Kenny's trying to grab a side draft. Anthony English is just trying to follow the trucks in front of him. But then watch this. I mean, we talked about the new physics for these trucks. This is nasty right here for Anthony English. That truck almost flies straight into the catch fence, but look at the airtime he gets. As it was a big hit for the 753 of Kenny Real. That truck started to lift off the ground as well before it set back down. So Anthony English definitely got the worst of this one as we go to the cockpit view. This is kind of a blindside hit, though. He's not expecting it. And, man. Truck finally sets back down and then eventually slides to a stop. As Kenny Real comes to a halt against the safer barrier. Dave Hunt involved as well. Give you a couple more angles of this one. So a wild ride for Anthony English here. Puts us under caution with what was just 6 laps to go, but is presumably going to put us at a restart with somewhere between 2 and 3 laps to go. One more view of it here from the starter cam, who had quite the look at this dramatic incident. Watch this here. But he almost hit the flag man. How high that truck got. That was certainly the wildest incident we've seen so far here tonight. But as we turn our attention back up front, look at the playoff drivers up here in the top 10. Kilday, Crosby, and Fritz going to be lined up 1, 2, 3. Then you've got Vicente Guerrero, Nate Warren. Excuse me, I should say Nathan Warren. And then back in that 8th spot, how about Rick Sanchez making his way back to the front? And rounding out the top 10 is Dustin Logston. So you've got 7 drivers that are in the playoffs up here in the top 10. And it does indeed look like it's going to be a restart with just 2 laps to go. So this is where things really get stressful. We know how crazy 2-lap shootouts can get here. So let's see if we can bring up the current leader of the race, Adam Kilday, and see how he's feeling right now. Hey, Adam, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, man.
Well, you find yourself out in front here with what's going to be a 2-lap shootout at Talladega. I mean, what's going through your mind right now? You're in the playoffs. A win would be huge here. How are you going to go out and execute?
We'll try to just work with the guys behind me here. We've all been linked up together. Me, Jeff Crosby Jr., Zach Frisch, Anthony, Nate Warren. So we all been working together pretty good so far this race. I'm hoping to keep that up and hopefully see one of us come out with the win here.
Well, the other question I got for you is, I know that this caution probably helped any sort of fuel questioning that there was, but if we start to have to work into a couple overtimes, do you have to start worrying about fuel becoming a question?
Currently I'm sitting all right. I can't recall how many green-white checkers there are, but I believe I'm good for a couple of those. But yeah, we will see how that pans out.
Certainly will. Well, Adam, hey, we appreciate you giving us a quick word here before you go get back going green, and good luck the rest of the way. We'll see if we're talking to you in victory lane here in just a few laps.
Yeah, man. Appreciate your time, dude. Heck yeah.
There you go. Adam Kilday said he's going to work with the same guys he's been working with most of the night. That's what we talked about at the start of the race, that there's no teams per se, but there are certain drivers that if you're in the Discord, you can work with, and he's been working really well with that 33 here tonight. We'll see if those two can get linked up here for these last 2 laps. Again, this should not be our first green-white checker. Looks like it's going to be a natural 2-lap shootout, so if we can make it to the white flag, this race will be official, and if we can't, we will rack them up and try it again, and then we'll have 2 attempts total at green-white checkered, so we can try 2 of those if we can't get the job done right here. Fuel not a question. The only question now is who's going to get the job done here tonight, and who's going to get back to that checkered flag first. Field now back in the hands of Adam Kilday and Jeff Crosby Jr. Les Levy, Zach Fritz in row 2, Vicente Guerrero and Jimmy Reynolds in row 3. Back into the Geico restart zone we go. 2 laps to go. Green flag back in the air at Talladega. Oh, and it's a good restart for both lanes. A little bit of bumping and banging between the inside and the outside in row 2, but it looks like Les Levy, Zach Fritz, both getting off to a good push for their leaders right now. And as they climb the banking into turn 1, it's the 85 of Adam Kilday with the advantage. He's clear to jump up if he wants to take it. We'll see if he does that or if he sticks low for now. As they race onto the backstretch, they're going to stay 2 by 2. Kilday did not move up. Now the question becomes who goes 3 wide first. Third lane is wide open for now. Nobody has jumped up yet down the backstretch. And here we go. The 11 of Matt Wagner going to be the first truck to jump out. Rick Sanchez is going to follow. And now here comes the cavalry. That third lane going to go from 2 trucks to 3, now back down to 2. As it looks like the 81 is going to go ahead and bail. He didn't like what he saw. And for Dustin Logston here, he's going to stick to the middle, but now Vicente Guerrero is going to jump up. Coming through the tribal, are they going to hold on? They almost wrecked. They're trying to save it. They do. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go at Talladega. Now going to draw even for second place. The third lane is making progress. They're going to wreck. They're going to wreck big time up front. The 33 goes up and over. Still 3 wide, though. The question is, who all got through this one? Looks like Zach Fritz in the best position now on the bottom. He's got the most organization behind him. Jimmy Reynolds doing the pushing. And the 81 of Dustin Logston may have a chance to get clear to jump up. Les Levy in the middle. Now Len McNeese is going to jump down. Rick Sanchez with some contact. The 62 is also going to bail to the bottom. Final time off of turn 4. Does anybody make a move on the 17? Jimmy Reynolds still in tow. Does the 81 look to the outside? No move yet. There he goes. Dustin Logston is going to try to move high, but he doesn't have any help out back. Through the tri-oval all the way to the checkered. Zach Fritz is going to win it at Talladega. The first race in the round of 16 in the playoffs is going to go to Zach Fritz, who gets the job done. He was up front all night, but he executes here with just 2 laps to go. Jimmy Reynolds brings home second, and Dustin Logston rounds out the podium. What a finish. Man, it was chaos in turn 1, but they were able to clean it up after that. Let's go back and look at this here and figure out exactly what happened here going into turn 1. Saw the 33 was the initial car that got turned. It was just about right as they got into the corner here, and oh, that's what it is right there. Les Levy just gets him just a little bit offset, and, you know, it's 2 laps to go, so everybody's doing a lot of pushing and shoving, and this is nothing Levy's doing here to try to, you know, hurt him, if you will. He's trying to help him, but watch what happens here is just ever so slightly offset left right as they're going into the corner, and right there just turns that 33 down the track, and it was actually Kilday who got upside down. Thought initially it was the 33 of Crosby Jr., but then here they get it all sorted out, and fast forward coming through the trouble here to the checker. I thought we were going to see a move. The 81 tried it, but Jimmy Reynolds stays loyal, stays tucked to the back bumper of the 12. And that's how Zach Fritz finds victory lane here tonight. So as the 12 burns it down on the front straightaway in front of the virtual grandstands, take a look at your official finishing results here on the night. Zach Fritz is your winner here tonight. First playoff driver to win a race in the playoffs, as Jimmy Reynolds brings home second, Dustin Logston in third, Nathan Warren in fourth. Then you've got Les Levy finishing fifth, Len McNeese in sixth, Rick Sanchez in seventh with Dana Shepard in eighth. David Booth finishes ninth, and Dave Hunt rounding out your top 10. Jeffrey Crosby Jr. finishes 11th, and it looks like going even further back in the field here tonight, finishing in 12th, is going to be Jeff Crosby Sr., Matt Wagner in 13th with Stephen Lane in 14th. Gary Bergeron in 15th. Anthony English in 16th. Kenny Reelback in 17th with Bubba Winningham rounding out the top 18 here tonight. Back in 19th is Shane Ward and Vicente Guerrero rounding out your top 20. Adam Kilday finishes 21st. Eric Laurie in 22nd. Douglas Johnson in 23rd with John Guerra in 24th. Then you've got Derek Donna in 25th. David Overstreet in 26th. Sean Dion finishes in 27th. Gene Watkinson in 28th. All right, we're going to go see if we can get your top 3 in here for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Talladega. All right, and we're going to go ahead and start things off tonight with your race winner, Zach Fritz. Zach, this is Austin up at the booth. Got a copy?
I do, Austin.
Well, you find victory lane here tonight in the first race of the playoffs, and man, through all the chaos, you came out in front there as we worked our way onto the backstretch of the final lap. And then break us down, what was going through your head after that? Did you think that Jimmy was going to make a move?
No, I got my boy Jimmy Jam. He's a true friend and a true admin up in this community. And he was pretty dedicated to me. Known Jimmy for a hot minute, and he already said that he was pretty much dedicated me all the way to there at the end. So definitely got to thank Jimmy Jam there to help me out all the way, to push me all the way to the win there.
Well, you work all season to get to the playoffs. Now you get to the playoffs, and immediately you start out with some momentum by getting the win here tonight. How does this kind of change the mindset over the course of the next 2 weeks as we continue to work through the round of 16? Do you focus on trying to help a couple, I don't want to name particularly teammates, but guys that you work with a lot, or do you try to go see if you can grab another win?
Oh, definitely working with the teammates a lot, see what I can do to help them out now. It's been a struggle for me on Wednesdays, barely being able to get it in. For the playoffs, I don't know, just been a completely different atmosphere from what we do on Mondays. Got about 2 wins over there, but didn't get any over here till now. And so definitely helping out the teammates. They've been helping me throughout trying to get me into the playoffs. So now to help them out and see what I can do. And if I need to win to where another guy doesn't win, and I'll do it.
Sounds like a pretty good strategy moving forward for the next 2 weeks. But, hey, before we let you head out here tonight to celebrate the win, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
Oh, shout out to you, Austin. It seems like I can't wait to hear this broadcast. Sounds like it was a good first time, right? Nobody came up and bit you, right?
No, not yet.
So definitely shout out to you and coming on these playoffs and broadcasting all these. Can't wait to watch it tomorrow and all the people that's watching on your chat there. Shout out to all the team that I was with. So too many to name, but they were all down there with me in Team 7. Shout out to OP and all of its admins, ButtKicker for sponsoring OP, and shout out to all my friends and family that watch and let me do this.
And again, Zach, thank you for talking to us. Again, congrats on the win, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and now that's going to bring us up to your second place finisher here tonight, Jimmy Reynolds. Jimmy, this is Austin in the booth. Got a copy?
Hey, buddy.
Well, you bring home a second place finish here tonight. You get to push one of the guys you were working with to a win. Tell us about how you felt about your race overall.
I thought it was a good race. Just stayed out of trouble. We all pitted together, kind of cycled early a little bit. Just kind of took care of one another tonight, and there you go.
Well, with the way fuel is set up in these playoffs, not just the playoffs course, but the entirety of the season, we see a lot of green flag pit stops, and overall everything was pretty clean here tonight. But How does it kind of change when you get towards the end of the race? Does the pressure kind of go up to make sure you execute on the pits? And is it a little bit trickier as you start to get closer and closer to the end of the race, knowing you still have to make a green flag stop?
Oh, for sure. You're thinking about it more, right? So you're like, I got to hit my marks. I got to make sure I do stop in my pit good. Got to make sure I don't slide forward. I mean, that's me personally. That's where I usually screw up towards the end of the race. And it's bad when you do that, but yeah, you definitely got to calm your nerves down and just act like that's just another pit stop. And I just got to hit my marks. And luckily tonight we did that.
Yeah, you certainly hit all the marks here tonight. So before we let you head out to go celebrate your podium finish, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to thank all the admins to the league, all the drivers I was racing with tonight, you for broadcasting for us. We appreciate that. My wife for letting me come out here and do this a few nights a week. And just appreciate it.
We appreciate you talking to us again, Jimmy. Congrats on that second place finish, and we will see you next week.
Yes, sir.
All right, now that will bring us to your third place finisher, Dustin Logston. Dustin, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
I do.
Well, you bring home a third place finish, and man, you were dicing it up. Tell us about what was going through your head as you made all those moves over the course of the last 2 laps to get into the podium.
Yeah, it's plate racing is hit or miss. Sometimes it's majority luck than anything else, and I happened to choose the right lane there. I wasn't expecting the stack up to happen there on the white flag, and I wasn't expecting to be in that position. There was a little bit of contact there between, I think it was Nate and Matt Wagner there, and I had to go below the apron a little bit there to give him a little bit more room, and that kind of cut my run a little bit coming to the white flag, and then just chaos ensued going through 1 and 2, and Fritchie, Jimmy, and myself just happened to be in the catbird seat. All 3 of us were lined up nuts to butts on the inside, and that's how we finished there coming to the line. So it looked like all 3 of us kind of chose the right path.
Yeah, it certainly worked out well. And, you mentioned that sometimes these super speedways can kind of be a 50-50. To get this good of a run in the first race, in the first round of the playoffs, does it kind of give you some more confidence in the fact that you could be a little bit more aggressive over the course of the next couple weeks?
Yeah, and it really does. You always look for that initial good run right in the first round of playoffs like that to kind of propel you up the standings tower a little bit. So it does give a little bit more breathing room. Not as much as Fritchie, obviously. He's got the most breathing room out of us 3, but I would say it definitely gives me more breathing room going into next week. So we'll see what we can't do going into next week and see if we can't kind of capitalize on this momentum we got going already in this round.
Sounds like a plan. Well, hey, Dustin, before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I got to thank all the partners on the car here. This is a special paint scheme for 9/11, so we had a lot of partners that were on board with this one here. Martin Sports, apparel partners, longest running partner we've had for Nerd eSports and Nerditudes. We got to thank iRacing, iFlag, Elite Performance Industries. We got to thank Boomer Button Box. I got to thank iRock 93.5, Victory Fuel. We got to thank ButtKicker. Like I said, there's a lot of people on this ride here that I'm glad that we can actually get them in a position to showcase them the way we did tonight.
Absolutely. Well, Dustin, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you out here next week.
All right. Thank you.
All right. That's going to wrap up your interviews, and that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Talladega Superspeedway. What a race it was, and what a win it was for Zach Fritz, one of the playoff drivers, and he is the first playoff driver to win here in the playoffs with the job here tonight that he gets done winning the HRRacing 185. All right, well, that is officially going to do it. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. Until next time, have a good night.